old fart? The obvious answer is old people are a whole lot closer to what? Dying. Young people like to be young. Why? Because they get to enjoy their life, yes? They don't have to worry so much about dying soon. Old people obviously do. Notice he continues, not even death, alas, will take my life. So like a wretched prisoner at strife within myself, I walk alone and wait upon the earth, which is my mother's gate, knocking with my staff from night to noon, and crying, Mother, open to me soon. Look at me, mother, won't you let me in? See how I wither, flesh and blood and skin. Alas, when all these bones be laid to rest. Mother, I would exchange, for that were best, the wardrobe in my chamber standing there so long for yours. I, for a shirt of hair to wrap me in. She has refused her grace, whence comes the pallor of my withered face. Famous lines. He says it. I'm an old man, and I keep knocking on heaven's door, asking to be let in. Of course, Bob Dylan will write a really famous song that Guns N' Roses later will recreate. Comes a really famous song. Knocking on heaven's door, and he says, I keep waiting to be let in, not yet let me in. I want to die, he says. I wish that I could die. Haven't been given that yet as a prize. Of course, the irony, as we've pointed already out several times in 303, is that from the time you were really young and they took you to the park, you wanted to keep swinging and not go to the van. But you had to go to the van. They were teaching you without you realizing it. From the time you were very young, you only get to stay at the park for a certain period of time. And then you got to go. And that going is called death. And the old man says, I'm ready to go. I wish I could go, but I'm still left here. Of course, the irony is the old man is left here so that he can do what? Talk to three idiots in our story who are out looking for what? Death. Notice he continues on page 129 at line 161. But it dishonored you when you began to speak so roughly, sir, to an old man. Unless he had injured you in word or deed, it says in Holy Writ, as you may read, thou shalt rise up before the hoary head and honor it. And therefore be it said, do no more harm to an old man than you, being now young, would have another do when you are old, if you should live till then. And so may God be with you, gentlemen, for I must go whither I have to go. Now this is interesting. Let's jump to 2a really quickly. He scolds the young people. Whoa! The next time, for example, you get behind an old person in line at the grocery store and you're like, why is this taking so long? Next time you're driving behind an elderly person and they're all over the road and they're going really slow and you're like, what is up with these fools old people? Whoa, the old man here, an important truth. He says, hey, you are young, but you won't be forever. And someday you'll be the old person standing in the line at the grocery store. Dude, I am never getting old. That's called death early then. What's your options? The old man says, funny thing, no young person wants to switch age with me. Which means someday you'll be the one driving the car all over the road. And some young kid will be behind. How will you want to be treated then? That's how you should treat the geriatric, the old person now. Whoa. That's a fascinating insight. I've had seniors that say, whoa, that is a very interesting way to look at the people who are raising me. What is it like? I'll ask this question now because you're seniors. What is it like to walk the track, the balloons go up, the mascara runs on graduation day? Dude, that's going to be so exciting. No. I'm not asking what's it like for you. I'm asking what's it like for the people who held you in their hands the minute you were born. 18, 19 years ago. And now all of a sudden, in a moment, in an instant, they will watch you walk across a track and the balloons go up. And that little tiny thing they held is gone. What's that got to feel like? What does that have to feel like in an instant you realize there went 20 years? Gone. I'm not asking what it feels like to you as a young person. Yay! Emancipation, freedom. No. I'm asking what's it got to be like for all those people sitting in the stands who in an instant go, crap, I'm getting older. That is a keen insight. And our old man here is giving these three young rioters some words of wisdom that they will not hear. Which begs the question, what kind of reader are you at this moment? Are you like the three young idiot fools who read right over this and do not even pay attention? Or are you evolving as a reader and as a thinker? That is to say, you're getting older. And now you read something like this and you go, whoa, whoa, whoa. You literally put down your pen. You go for a walk. You go, man, there's some keen insight there. In my life, some of the worst treatment has happened to people who are much older than me. I even once called a parent of mine an idiot. I even once said, you got no idea what I'm going through. You're an old fart. What do you know about it? Ooh. And this old man is lecturing to the young, stupid fools who, of course, become the young, stupid readers. That maybe it makes sense every once in a while to pay respect to the people who are older. That's exactly what this old man says. You need to show some respect to your elders because someday you will be an elder. And if you don't show respect to an elder when you're young, whoa, maybe you deserve what you get when you get old. What an interesting insight. Of course, this young fool is not going to be able to pay any attention whatsoever to what was just said. All of the stuff that I just said, these young kids got no interest in hearing any of it. Why? Because they're young, which means they're stupid. Oh, whoops. Chaucer is saying from the grave, oh, whoops, didn't mean to insult you as a bunch of seniors, but you know what it's called when you're a senior? You ain't a senior, you're still a young fool. Seniors are old people. That's why we call them seniors. That is to say, listen to them. But notice here, right? By God, the gamblers say, you shan't do so. You won't. You don't get off so easy by St. John. I heard you mention just a moment gone, line 175, a certain traitor, Death, who singles out and kills the fine young fellows hereabout. And you're his spy, by God. You wait a bit. Say where he is, or you shall pay for it, by God and by the Holy Sacrament. I say, you join together by consent, top of page 130, to kill us younger folk, you thieving swine. The young kid heard nothing the old man said, and he goes, no. A few seconds ago, you used that word death. I'm ready to go jack that death, and you're going to tell me where death is. And if you don't do it, I'm going to jack you. Top of page 130. Read it with me. Line 183. Well, sirs, he said, if it be your design to find out death, turn up this crooked way towards that grove. I left him there today under a tree, and there you'll find him waiting. He isn't one to hide for all your prating. You see that oak? He won't be far to find. And God protect you that redeem mankind, aye, and amend you. Thus, that ancient man. Two observations real quickly. Did you notice the way to go find death was what? What's the adjective? Did you write it down at level 1? I hope you're reading closer. One of the things I'm trying to teach you is how to read closer. Become a closer reader. Did you see the adjective? Did you notice it? It is what? The crooked way. The crooked way. Right? Notice it's under an oak tree. A tree that, of course, starts out as a tiny acorn and then grows into this huge oak tree. And he says, yeah, Dad, you want to kill Death? I saw him this morning. No, he was just up the road, the crooked road, underneath a tree. Some of you are already saying, oh man, these are like stories upon stories, images upon images. For example, how many times in old fairy tales and stories is whatever that's going to happen under a tree in the middle of a grove? And it's going to be a big tree. So hurrah! These young kids are going to go find Death, and they're going to kill Death, and it's going to be up the crooked road under the tree. Let's go. At once, line 190. At once, the three young rioters began to run and reached the tree, and there they found a pile of golden florins on the ground. New coined, 8 bushels of them, as they thought. No longer was it Death those fellows sought, for they were all so thrilled to see the sight. The florins were so beautiful and bright that down they set beside the precious pile. Whoa, so let's put it in our notes. We have the next development, our plot line, very simple. So the kids go running up the road, the crooked way, to go find Death. And they don't find Death, but what do they find? $1,000,000 in gold sitting in the middle of the road. And they immediately go, yeah. Our storyteller says, our partner, all of a sudden, our three idiot fools are not interested in death at all. Now they're interested in money. Now this will be the first obvious reference to the theme of greed. So let's write it down. This will be the very first time that obviously we're going to get this kind of the love of money as the root of evil, which is the passage that we're told the partner loves to quote when he preaches sermons. So here we are, sitting on page 130, line 199. Okay? The wickedest spoke first after a while. Brothers, he said, you listen to what I say. I'm pretty sharp, although I joke away. It's clear that fortune has bestowed this treasure to let us live in jollity and pleasure. Light come, light go. We'll spend it as we ought. God's precious dignity, who would have thought this morning was to be our lucky day? In other words, hey, I got great news, he says. You know what? This is an amazing situation. I have got in front of me $1 million in gold. Hey, here's the deal. It was given to us so we can go party and have a good time. Yes. In other words, we got to figure out how we're going to get this money home. Okay? Here's his plan. Now, this is an interesting plan, so let's read it with us at line 206. If one could only get the gold away, back to my house, or else to yours, perhaps, as you know, the gold is ours, chaps. We'll all be at the top of fortune, hey? But certainly it can't be done by day. People would call us robbers, a strong gang. So our own property would make us hang. No, we must bring this treasure back by night, some prudent way, and keep it out of sight. And so as solution, I propose, we draw for lots and see the way it goes. The one who draws the longest, lucky man, shall run to town as quickly as he can to fetch us bread and wine, but keep things dark, while two remain in hiding here to mark our heap of treasure. If there's no delay, when night comes down, we'll carry it away, all three of us, wherever we have planned. Very simple. Let's put it in our notes at level 1. Simple plan. The wickedest, we're told, says, hey, it's very simple. 2 of us are going to stay here and guard the money, so nobody else gets it, because finders, keepers, loosers, sweepers, and all of that. One of us is going to draw lots, and one of us is going to go back to town, get us a little bit of something to drink, a little bit of something to eat, and then under cover of night, we're going to pack this gold up, and we're going to take it back to our house. Because if we take it under the day, somebody's going to say that we're a gang, and we robbed and stole this. Clearly, we're not stealing it, we just found it, right? Only now it's ours. He gathered lots, last 2 lines on page 130. He gathered lots and hid them in his hand, bidding them draw for where the luck should fall. Top of page 131. It fell upon the youngest of them all, and off he ran at once towards the town. Now let's just point out that the youngest is the one, again, more archetypes here. The youngest is the one whose lot will fall to being the one who go back to town to go get the drink and the food. As soon as he had gone, the youngest, the first sat down and thus began a parley, that is to say, to talk with the other. Line 230, quote, you know that you can trust me as a brother. Now let me tell you where your profit lies. You know our friend has gone to get supplies, and here's a lot of gold that is to be divided equally amongst us 3. Nevertheless, if I could shape things thus, so that we shared it out, the 2 of us, wouldn't you take it as a friendly act? In other words, he says, hey, we got to divide this gold up by 3. But wouldn't it be better if we could divide it up by 2 instead of 3? We get more. We could already jump to where his plan is going, right? That is to say, this is going to lead from theft to murder here pretty quickly. But how? The other said. He knows the fact that all the gold was left with me and you. What can we tell him? What can we do? Line 241. Again, can we just pause for a moment at the storytelling of 2b? This is a very simple story. Any fool child would be able to kind of predict what's going to happen next, yes? Remember, the partner says he likes to preach this tale because it's one that a yokel mind, a simple mind, can understand, right? So for those of you saying this isn't a very sophisticated story, no, it's not supposed to be sophisticated, right? Let's keep reading. Is it a bargain, said the first, or no? For I can tell you in a word or so what's to be done to bring the thing about. Trust me, the other said. You needn't doubt my word. I won't betray you. I'll be true. Of course, several times notice the word trust is being used here. In other words, no trust between thieves, as they often will say, right? In other words, no, you can't trust fools, right? Because they're always going to break their word. Well, said his friend, you see that we are two, and two are twice as powerful as one. Now look, when he comes back, get up in fun to have a wrestle. Then, as you attack, I'll up and put my dagger through his back, while you in here struggling as in game. Then, draw your dagger too and do the same. Then, all this money will be ours to spend, divided equally, of course, dear friend. Then we can gratify our lusts and fill the day with dicing at our own sweet will. Whoa! So in other words, his plan is simple. Hey, when the young kid shows back up, jump up, pretend like you're going to wrestle with him. While he's distracted, I'll stab him in the back, then you stab him in the front, we'll kill him, and then we'll divide the gold between just the two of us. Done. Easy. Thus, these two miscreants, you can understand what the word miscreant means here, right? Bad guys. Agreed to slay the third and youngest, as you heard me say. The youngest, as he ran towards the town, kept turning over, rolling up and down within his heart the beauty of those bright new florins, saying, Lord, to think I might have all that treasure to myself alone. Could there be anyone beneath the throne of God so happy as I then should be? So in other words, notice how our story in the rising action is going to continue. We're going to move from the two guys who have decided they're going to kill the youngest to now the youngest kid who's a little bit sharper maybe than the other two. And he's like, dude, I've been given a gift because I know about this gold and I'm the one that's supposed to go and get something to drink and something to eat. You can already see where this one's going, right? And of course, this is easily then going to play right into this notion of greed is bad. Avarice or cupidity is bad. And so, the fiend, our common enemy, the devil that is, was given power to put in his thought that there was always poison to be bought. I'm at the top of 132. And that with poison he could kill his friends. To men in such a state, the devil sends thoughts of this kind and has a full permission to lure them on to sorrow and perdition. For this young man was utterly content to kill them both and never to repent. Notice the partner in his preaching slips in that little bit about how the devil can make us do things that we normally wouldn't want to do, like kill our friends or do something mean or whatever. And on he ran. Yeah, I'm on page 132, line 275. And on he ran. He had no thought to tarry, came to the town, found an apothecary, a drugstore, and said, sell me some poison, if you will. I have a lot of rats I want to kill. And there's a polecat, too, about my yard that takes my chickens and it hits me hard. But I'll get even as is only right with vermin and destroy a man by night. The chemist answered, I have a preparation which you shall have, and by my soul's salvation, if any living creature eat or drink a mouthful, ere he has time to think, though he took less than makes a grain of wheat, you'll see him fall down dying at your feet. Yes, die he must, and in so short a while, you'd hardly have the time to walk a mile. The poison is so strong, you understand. Now, for those of you who are already thinking, wait, where have I seen this picture before? You are dead on right. And let's jot it down at 3a. This is, of course, the famous Romeo apothecary scene in Romeo and Juliet. You will remember, of course, Romeo has determined after he hears that Juliet is quote-unquote dead. Remember, she's not actually dead, but she appears to be so. That Romeo says, I'm done with it. I'm going to go back and I'm going to commit suicide by drinking poison. Where is he going to get the poison from? From an apothecary, and the apothecary will echo some of these very same lines. Dude, you drink this, you will be dead. This cursed fellow grabbed into his hand the box of poison and away ran into a neighboring street. He found a man who lent him 3 large bottles. He withdrew and deftly poured the poison into 2. He kept the third one clean as well he might for his own drink, meaning to work all night, stacking the gold and carrying it away. And when this rioter, this devil's clay, had filled his bottles up with wine, all 3, back to rejoin his comrades sauntered he. So in other words, very simple story. Here we go. Continuing rising action. The young kid goes and gets some poison, puts it inside of 2 of the 3 canteens, right? The canteen that doesn't have the poison he puts on his own belt, right? And after he kills his 2 pals by poisoning them, then he'll be able to pile up all of the gold and take it back. Why make a sermon of it? Now we'll get to for those of you who are plotting this at level 1, now we'll get to the climax. The climax, remember, is that point in the story, right, in which the conflict has got to somehow come to its penultimate fruition. In other words, what's going to happen ultimately, we're about to get it, right? Now, again, this is very, very simple. I mean, you tell this story to a bunch of 5th graders, And they will predict that what happens is what is going to happen. The two idiots are going to jump up. They're going to kill the young kid. They're then going to want to have a drink of the poison. They're going to drink from the poison, and all three of them are going to be dead. Any fifth grader can predict what's about to happen next. And yet, that's the power of an archetypal story. You want the prediction. What in the end kills them? Don't say knives and poison. What in the end kills them? Don't say death. What in the end kills them is, of course, we wrote it at 2a as the very first message, greed, avarice, cupidity. Why does the partner like to preach about greed, avarice, and cupidity? He's already told us, because that's the way he can make money himself. Right? Let's keep reading. Why make a sermon of it? I'm on page 132. Why make a sermon of it? Why waste breath? Exactly in the way they planned his death, they fell on him and slew him, 2-1. Then said the first of them, when this was done, "Now for a drink, sit down and let's be merry, for later on there'll be the corpse to bury." And as it happened, reaching for a sup, he took a bottle full of poison up and drank, and his companion, nothing loath, drank from it also, and they perished both. There is in Avicenna's long relation concerning poison and its operation, trust me, no ghastlier section to transcend what these two wretches suffered at their end. Thus these two murderers received their due, so did the treacherous young poisoner too. So let's pause for a moment. There's the climax of the story, right? And in some ways the denouement of the story too. So they kill the young kid. He falls. You can almost picture this. He falls on the floor of the pile of gold. Then the two of them drink. They, of course, stack on top. Of course, what's the interesting irony here? Let's jot it down. I mean, it's so bloody obvious. I know that, but let's still say it out loud. They went searching for death, right? They went searching for death, and guess what they found? Death, right? They found death. That is to say, they got what they were looking for.